Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest on the very cold and wintry conditions that are continuing over the next few days. If you haven't enjoyed this cold weather, the end is in sight. Fortunately, as we head into the weekend, we are going to see the colder air getting cut off and higher pressure firmly building in. Slightly warmer upper air temperatures, but with the air mass not really moving much at the surface, it probably still will remain cold, or at least warm up very slowly into next week. But before then, we still have some quite significant risks from some more wintry weather. Now you can see on the live radar at the moment, we've got heavy snow showers pushing in, but as we'll see from the weather warnings and some of the other shorter range charts, there is the risk of some heavy snow across parts of southern England through Wednesday afternoon into Thursday morning. Now at the moment, there is massive uncertainty, and you may think, well, we're only 24 hours away, less than 24 hours away, how is there so much uncertainty? And to be honest, I can't explain why there's so much uncertainty. Channel lows are very difficult to forecast, but the models are really struggling. We've got a real array still with only sort of 12 hours to go until the first kind of precipitation starts to arrive in the far southwest. Some runs keep all of the precipitation out into the English Channel. Other runs even get some snow to the north of London, which, that's a massive discrepancy at this time frame. So we'll go through the latest weather warnings, which does still have a broad yellow warning across much of southern England, and then we'll have a look at numerous charts. I think we're going to have a look at 7 different models this evening, just to show you the discrepancies we're seeing and trying to tot up where we think the most likely probability is of snow. But, as I said, one of these models could be right, they all could be wrong. The snow could be miles south, it could be miles further northwards, and because of this uncertainty, we will just have to wait and see. It's going to be very much an outcast situation. Into the second half of the video, we will have a look at the longer range. As I said, it is going to be sort of exiting out of this colder spell into the weekend. We could see a bit of transient snow maybe on Friday and Saturday, but we are likely to all go much drier and slowly milder into the weekend and into the following week as we see a big area of high pressure firmly building in. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And you can see at the moment, we've got a classic north to northwesterly wind, lots of heavy snow showers packing in to Scotland here. Another good few centimetres of snow will likely accumulate overnight. Again, these are sort of usual patterns we see with a northerly wind, classic convection event there for northern Scotland. You look at these, you think, oh, massive BP showers, these are going to move southwards. But once they come far enough inland, they do lose their intensity very, very quickly. So really, if you're in the central belt, you'll think, oh, I'm getting a lot of snow coming in from the north. They all die out as soon as they slowly head southwards. Heavy snow showers popping into Northern Ireland and parts of the Republic of Ireland. Again, because it's coming off the Atlantic there, slightly milder sort of pattern. It does mean that there's a bit more mixing toward the coast, but inland, falling snow. And the same could be said there for northwest England and northern Wales, where we've got, again, a bit of a streamer developing there. Nothing crazy, but again, more snow showers and just on and off precipitation. Some of these showers spread a bit further inland earlier, and last night we did see a disturbance that gave a period of snow further southwards overnight into the morning, but really, again, nothing too significant. Maybe an additional centimetre or two in a few spots. Again, falling onto still pretty mild ground after the very mild weather we had on Sunday. It doesn't mean we didn't see any settling, but it did mean that we don't see readily coverings of snow. But we'll have to wait and see tomorrow, because we could see further precipitation. Now, do you look at the temperatures? See this evening, it's a very cold night. Temperatures are widely dropping down to freezing. Of course, last night they did get close to freezing for most, but the cold air mass had only just pulled in for some of those southern and eastern areas, so it only just got to around 0 or 1 degree overnight last night. But tonight, readily below freezing, and the next 2 nights are going to be bitterly cold as well. Minus 10 degrees could be possible for some areas of northern England, maybe even lower where we've got snowpack still over the higher ground. You can see the very cold temperatures even get right towards the south coast, and that's why tomorrow, if we do see precipitation moving in, there's a very high chance it falls as snow, even right on the coast. It's not guaranteed, of course. There's always is a little bit of room for movement and discrepancy, but it is a very good chance, much less marginal than it was on Saturday night or in many other similar events that we've seen. But of course, the issue with this pattern is not the cold, which sometimes can be the case. We do generally see lots of these low pressure systems moving in, and whenever it's cold enough, they're always way too far to our south. But whenever it's slightly too mild, they're always slap bang across southern England. What we've got tomorrow is a little bit in between. We've got some precipitation moving in, but not a huge amount, and the weather front is very difficult to predict, as we'll see in a few moments' time. Now, I do just want to show you the past 24-hour snowfall, just so we can see where we have seen some snow. You can see all of those heavy showers pushing to the north and the northwest, and then we saw that little disturbance moving through parts of Wales, and then moving in there to across southern England. Again, no massive amounts of snow, but a few darker patches indicating a couple of centimetres possible. Again, this is falling snow, not accumulating. So you can see here across northwest England, you think, oh, we've seen massive amounts of snow for some areas to the south of Manchester. Yes, some of these areas have got some snowfall, but again, these are within showers, bit of melting during the day. So yeah, we're not seeing sort of 10 to 15 centimetres like these purples would indicate. But it just shows you where we have seen some falling snow as those showers have streamed in from the northwest. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we've still got some warnings issued overnight tonight for those snow showers. Again, for northern and western Scotland until midday tomorrow. Again, a few centimetres, even to low-lying areas. Maybe up to 5 to 10 centimetres above some of the higher ground. Again, ice also a problem where we've seen a bit of a thaw during the day. Again, this has been issued this morning. Medium likelihood, low impact, so not expecting anything too major. Another snow and ice warning issued here for Northern Ireland for a very similar pattern. Again, a few centimetres of snow from some of these showers, and then a yellow ice warning there for northern and western parts. Not expecting anything too major. As we saw on the live radar, there's a few bulky showers, but nothing too major. Maybe a centimetre or two falling overnight, especially above higher ground. As we saw, there was a bit of mixing there because of the slightly milder sea surface temperatures we've got out in the Irish Sea, just allowing those temperatures to rise slightly at the surface. But of course, ice is also a risk where we see clearer skies, and it allows those surface temperatures to fall very, very quickly. However, into tomorrow, we still have all of those warnings, and then we've got the snow warning issued for the southern areas. Now, obviously, it's not been updated. The possibility it gets updated into tomorrow, but I think the reason why it's not got updated is because we've not really seen much more confidence in any of the guidance, really. 2 to 5 centimetres, quite widely within this region, and 10 centimetres over the higher ground. I still think that's a reasonable description. I don't think everywhere in this yellow warning zone will see 2 to 5 centimetres, but I definitely think quite a few spots will, especially over the higher ground. But it's all about how far inland does the precipitation fall. Definitely across southwest England here, I think there is scope. But of course, these areas are always slightly milder, especially towards the coasts. Of course, being furthest from the colder air is always a degree or two milder. So again, maybe some mixing moving in. But for central southern England, where it's very cold and almost guaranteed to fall snow a few miles inland, precipitation, very difficult to say where it will move in. Some runs have it right along the south coast, other runs have it slap bang across this yellow warning zone, and some runs even have it, as I said, getting up towards the north of London. And I think the yellow warning zone is essentially slap bang in the middle of all of the model outputs. So there's a chance no one sees snow. There's a chance, though, that the snow could be even further northwards, and of course will include this yellow warning zone. You see, it's from 9 AM tomorrow until midnight tomorrow. Now, if you look at the latest UKV now, you can see over the course of this evening, all those heavy snow showers continue to push in, and the low pressure system eventually arrives into early tomorrow morning, rising into the southwest. Maybe some rain along the immediate coast, but inland over any higher ground, starting to turn to snow. And you can see there a band of snow there across southern England during the afternoon. Because it's coinciding with the afternoon, again, that could allow a bit more mixing, but as soon as those overnight temperatures start to drop and it goes dark, then we do see redly snow across those southern areas. Again, pretty much slap bang where we have that yellow warning, kind of the mean of all of the runs. So it eventually clears through Wednesday evening, a few flurries elsewhere, maybe slightly further northwards, but the bulk of the precipitation does stay in the Channel or across France. Now, beyond that, we continue to see snow showers in the north through Thursday. But for most, Thursday's a reasonably dry day, lots of clear skies, but it would still be really quite cold. And then Thursday night into Friday, another very cold night. And then look at this, a band of precipitation moving in. Guaranteed snow on its leading edge, but it dissipates away very quickly as it comes up against that very cold block. Massive uncertainty still with this weather front. Some runs producing substantial snow, but majority break it apart very quickly before it makes any inroads. And this is the weather front that is slowly going to break down this colder pattern. And as you can see, as we head into the weekend, thicker cloud moves through, more sort of transient areas of showers, and that is the slow transition. The slightly milder air mass, as you can see by Sunday, a full-blown mild Atlantic air mass fully pushes in, and we do see a very slow transition from very cold through Friday morning to slightly chillier through Friday night into Saturday and to mild by Sunday. So that slow transition across about 36 to 48 hours, which means there's very little chance of snow. Not like Saturday, where we saw a shift from heavy snow to heavy rain in the space of 15 minutes. Those sort of transitions, that can cause significant snow. These transitions, because they are so slow, it means there's a very low chance, because that weather front is never strong enough to really sustain massive precipitation that we'd need to see on that boundary. So yeah, very slow transition through the weekend, but it slowly turns milder. See, overnight tonight, very cold, -3 to -5, quite widely, could be much lower in a few spots. Into tomorrow afternoon, hardly getting above freezing, 0 to 2 degrees, and that's why further southwards there's a high chance of settling snow as that precipitation moves in. Thursday morning, very cold, -10 to -15 degrees across the snowpack of the north, elsewhere widely below freezing. As we head into Thursday afternoon, again, another ice stay in some places, hardly getting above freezing, maybe 3 or 4 at best. Into Friday morning, very cold once again, down to -10 potentially, but by the afternoon, again, hardly getting above freezing. And then as we transition into the weekend, still very cold into Saturday morning, but by the afternoon, look at that, 4, 5, 6 degrees, and it starts to turn much, much milder. Still chilly though through Saturday afternoon, but it's really through the evening into Friday where those much milder temperatures, through the evening into Sunday where those much milder temperatures push in. 13 degrees across the Brabant Island, elsewhere still single digits, but slowly warming up. If you just have a look at those snow depths for Wednesday, you can see not expecting anything too major across the far south, a few centimetres across some of the higher ground there, so very touch and go. However, if we do now have a look at some of those other charts, if we start on the Rome high resolution run, you can see as we head through Wednesday, literally just touching the south coast, but the majority of precipitation stays offshore, clears through, don't see much else. So yeah, very interesting there from the Rome run. Really not much going on at all. However, if we do go over to the icon, look what happens through Wednesday. Substantial precipitation pushes inland, as I said, even could get towards London or the north of London there through Wednesday evening. Heavy initially, but does turn lighter and patchier through the evening before breaking apart and clearing away, and then potentially a bit more transient snow there through the latter part of the week. Again, if we put on the snow depth, again, we're not expecting major snow, but a few centimetres is definitely possible, especially across the far southwest. If you have a look at the arpège, again, a run that was very optimistic for this a couple of days ago, very similar to the Rome, hardly touching the south coast. Maybe getting a bit further inland, but a bit more mixing of rain there. If we do put on the 2 metre temperatures, you can see it is very cold, but slightly milder right along those south coast, coastal regions. And because of the lack of heavy precipitation, not really seeing much evaporative cooling, which means it's a little bit more difficult to see that snow. If you look at the GFS though, you can see, look at this, heavy snow for much of southern England, even to the north of London, up towards Luton, showing some snow through Wednesday evening before slowly clearing off into overnight into Thursday. Really big snow event there for those southernmost counties. And if we do look at the snow totals for this, into the afternoon, widely 1 to 5 centimetres. Not ridiculous amounts, not huge, but definitely enough that would, give everyone a little bit of a white evening there with a lot of winteriness around. So that would be very interesting to see. Again, these are the regions that missed out on snow earlier on Saturday. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, very interesting GFS, bringing it much further northwards. And then if we compare to the GM, very similar. Big snow event there across the far south of England before slowly clearing away. I must say, majority of the precipitation is pretty light, which means that, really to see substantial snow, you need to see a bit more higher precipitation rates because there is some evaporation taking place within the atmosphere. We saw that on Saturday where we saw on the radar, we saw a lot of snow pushing in, but we didn't actually see much falling to the ground initially because we needed heavier precipitation to overcome it. That could be an issue we see tomorrow. Again, we'll have to wait and see. And again, if we could check out the snow depth, you can see it is pretty similar to the GFS, maybe even a bit more, 1 to 5 centimetres there across the large swathes of southern England. Again, even getting slightly further northwards than London. And finally, if we check out the ECWF, a bit further northwards than the arpege at the Rome, but really the precipitation just runs out of steam. Its positioning is further northwards, similar probably actually to the GM and the GFS. It's just not nowhere near as much precipitation as it does move through. So yeah, a wide array of runs, and remember, this is all for tomorrow afternoon. This is 24 hours in advance these models are forecasting, and they don't really have a clue still. So it is going to be very much an nowcast event. Unfortunately, can't give you much more than that. We'll just have to wait and see exactly what happens, but for the time being, be prepared for some snow. We're not expecting massive amount. We're not expecting to get buried 10 centimetres, 20 centimetres, not expecting anything like that, but a few centimetres, a dusting of snow, maybe some quite bad ice as well. Of course, temperatures will drop away substantially overnight. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Given how cold the ground temperatures are, there will be very little problem, especially further inland, with settling. So high probability of at least seeing a bit of snow around if that precipitation moves in. But it is a big if, as we just saw from all of those runs. Regardless, though, if we do look at the longer range, we'll be able to see that the end is in sight for this colder spell. As we head into the weekend, we do see a southwesterly wind trying to push in, not having much success, but having enough success that the high pressure topples and eventually builds in over the top of us. There's still quite a bit of uncertainty exactly how it builds in, but at the moment the GFS has got this massive block over the top of us, and it really does nothing with it for the whole of the run. So it actually keeps us settled and dry, but if we look at the upper air temperatures, it's pretty mild. But if we look at the surface temperatures, much colder, only 5 or 6 degrees by day, down towards freezing overnight, and it would probably be a bit colder when we have a look at a higher resolution run. So what that tells me is a classic winter inversion taking place. So you can see it is slightly milder, and probably would be a bit milder, or even up towards the double digits initially. But if we see high pressure getting going like this, we do see clear nights, clear skies, then I think there's a real possibility that it actually does remain fairly cold there during the middle part of January. There would be no risk of snow though, we'd hardly see any precipitation. And if we do look at the accumulated precipitation here, across some parts of central northern England where we've had actually some really bad flooding the last couple of days, 0 precipitation in the next couple of weeks. So that could be on the cards. It's all dependent on the positioning of the high. You can see it was perfectly positioned here to deliver no precipitation across these areas. But if we look at the GEM, for example, it's very similar, high pressure building in, but it's slightly further southwards, which means transient weather fronts can move through, giving precipitation, but it probably would be milder as well. A bit more of a southwesterly tilt. And if we do zoom into those surface temperatures, you can see it is quite a bit milder. More around that 8 to 10 degrees. So there's only a couple of degrees difference by day, quite a lot more overnight, so it's not a massive change, but definitely would make a big difference to what it actually feels like out there. And of course, we'd probably see more precipitation with this. Not, still not masses, only sort of 5 to 10 mils in some spots, but a little bit more from those transient weather fronts. Now, to finish for those longer range charts, we'll have a look at the latest ECMWF. You can see again that high pressure builds in, very similar to the other runs. It's kind of not completely dominating initially, but starts to become a bit more dominant in the longer term. But similar to the GM, it would probably be pretty mild. Again, in some of the last couple of days, we have seen that high pressure moving up towards Greenland. That's still a possibility. Lots of tropospheric polar vortex there is positioned to the north of Scandinavia, towards Svalbard. So there is a possibility of that occurring, but that is something that I don't think is going to occur around between the 10th to the 15th. It looks like pretty bang on now. We'll see at least 5 days of higher pressure dominance, and we see that very well here on the ensembles. Latest GFS, very cold for the next kind of 4 or 5 days, slowly turning milder through the weekend. A couple of opportunities for snow here. You can see there through Wednesday, and you can see there or Wednesday into Thursday, and then you can see there maybe later on in the week. But again, low risk and low amounts. But it's a risk nonetheless. Into the weekend, milder, but of course it's drier under higher pressure, so it probably wouldn't be all too mild at the surface, and then we slowly transition back towards average. But again, I think that's just classic spread into the longer term. 2 mean temperatures still very cold over the next couple of days, but into the weekend and starts of next week, you can see more around the 6 to 8 degree mark. So not mild, but generally around average or slightly above average. But it will all depend on what sort of high pressure we see. The GFS is definitely inversion high pressure, peaking at 5 or 6 degrees, but other runs getting up towards the double digits. So we will just have to wait and see. New snow depth, quite a lot of new snow depth spikes, so GFS ensembles are fairly on board with at least seeing a bit of falling snow. Again, we'll have to wait and see exactly how much. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, the midnight run, very cold over the next few days, not too much precipitation, but a little bit, and then much milder into the longer term before slowly trending back towards average. But again, generally high pressure dominance and remaining fairly chilly. Again, most ensemble members, or the means coming out around that 6 or 7 degree mark, which is chilly, but not that cold, if we're being completely honest, compared to what it is right now, where it's only 2 or 3 degrees by day at best. Some areas not getting close to that, staying around freezing. 6 or 7 won't be too bad. Of course, it still would be cold overnight, but again, not quite as cold as it is now. We'll have to just wait and see for those longer term prospects, but for those who don't like the cold, who want it to be a bit milder, then positive news, but it's not going to be massively milder. It is still going to be January. It's still going to feel like January with potentially frosts and chilly conditions around still, but at least we'll see the end of winteriness and we'll see, as I said, drier and slightly milder temperatures. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe if you're impacted by any of the flooding, ice and some snow over the coming hours. And for those in the south, just check out the live radar. Unfortunately, not much more we can do if the models aren't agreeing. It's going to be a nowcast situation. It's on a knife edge, and it'll be all about watching the radar as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you again for another video soon.